Hey, well, hey, we are chiming in today to start our annual Halloween costume. I've already announced on social media platforms that I am working on Ellen Hutter's wedding dress from Nosferatu. So let's just jump right in. I'm gonna be wearing my stays, the Regency stays that I made a couple years ago. I have a video about it, so I'll link it below, but I'm gonna be wearing my Regency stays since they look similar to what she is wearing for this time period, and they would actually be accurate for the 1830s. So I am gonna wear them for this. No need to make a new pair of undergarments if I don't have to. I am making one new undergarment, something I've actually never made before. I'm making a corded petticoat, and that's where we're gonna start this whole project. There were two types of petticoats. You could have done tucks and ruffles or corded. So I decided at last minute that I wanted to do a corded petticoat for two reasons. One, this image here, which clearly shows her in a corded petticoat. And the second reason is because I've actually done an 1890s petticoat where I added a few tucks to it. Anyway, since I've done that already, I really wanted to challenge myself to something new, which obviously will be this corded petticoat. And I am venturing into the 1830s, which is an era I've never really had the desire to make a costume from before. But you know, when the goth gods serve us some 1830s goth realness, I cannot resist. I am going to be using a pre-made pattern, but I'll be modifying it. With that being said, let's talk about the fabric for this costume. That brings us to our fabric, which was graciously sponsored by Fabric Wholesale Direct. And I just wanted to share with you all that I actually wasn't going to make a Halloween costume this year. If you hadn't seen on my Instagram, I was supposed to be a guest at Once Upon a Con, and not only did they obviously not pay any of their guests, but I ended up having to pay for a night at the Gaylord out of pocket because they just never intended on paying us. You can look up the drama online. There's so much more. So many people were affected by this, but that basically means I was out around $1,500, and I thought it was the reasonable decision to not spend a couple $100s on fabric to make a Halloween costume this year. And then Fabric Wholesale Direct messaged me, not knowing anything about this, not knowing that I had kind of made the decision to not make a Halloween costume, and they were like, hey, we would love to partner with you again. If you remember last year's Beetlejuice costume, they did partner with me for that, and it was such a great partnership. I will honestly work with them anytime that they reach out because I really honestly love their company. I've been shopping with them for years. With that being said, they have sponsored the fabric for this, so we are gonna go ahead and do it, which is really exciting, and I'm really grateful, and it's kind of just a sign that the universe comes through every now and then. So let's talk about the fabric that I got from Fabric Wholesale Direct and what I plan on using it for. I will link the exact fabric I've used below, plus some alternatives just in case there are other fabrics that are better suit your budget. The fabric that I'll be using today for the corded petticoat, this is a Yorkshire 100% linen in off-white. I am doing off-white for all of these, warm toned, which is what I want for her dress. And then for the regular fabric, or the fabric that I'm going to be using for her outer gown, that's going to be like the bodice and the skirt, I have this beautiful slub satin. This is in ivory as well. Again, a little bit of a warm toned off-white type color. It's beautiful, and I will link to you some other options down in the description just so that you can kind of get an idea. So if something is out right now, you have an idea of like what is similar. With that being said, thank you so much Fabric Wholesale Direct. Once again, without you, this Halloween project wouldn't happen this year. So I'm really grateful, and like thank you all again so much. Let's dive into the petticoat making process, and I'll show you what I'm going to be pairing this with to make a corded petticoat.
To make a corded petticoat, I actually need 2 layers of fabric. The top layer is going to be my linen, and the lining layer is actually going to be a cotton backdrop that I purchased years ago and I just don't use anymore. I'm starting by cutting 2 rectangles 46 inches wide by 34 inches long from both the backdrop and the linen. From there, I will seam the linen layers and the cotton layers together with a flat felled seam to make 2 separate rectangular skirts.
Okay, so I'm gonna try to show you this as best as possible. Basically, I'm having some kind of tension issue. If you can see how on the bottom here, this thread is kind of looping up when it goes over all of my bobbin thread, and that's not good. All of these are tests. Basically, each one of these I changed one little thing, and It's still happening, so I'll explain to you everything that I did. I changed the thread, I changed the needle, I changed the bobbin thread, I adjusted the tension several times, and then the last thing I did was clean the machine completely and rethread it all, and I'm still getting it. So I think it's time to get my machine serviced. You are supposed to service machines about once a year, and I've never serviced this machine, and I've had it for a year, almost 2 years now actually. I think I got it November of 2023. So she's got to get serviced. So I'll be doing the rest of my sewing, or as much of it as I can, on my Janome for now, but I just wanted you kind of PSA and also to explain what was going on here. So I'm not going to get as much done today as I'd hoped. I'm basically just going to finish up the flat felled seams on these two pieces and then sew the lining to the actual top fabric, and then that's going to be all I think I'll have time for. I'm actually running behind, so we'll see if I have time for all of that. I think I can do it. I just wanted to share with you all, when you do see this, I've stitched on both sides, so like it's not cute, but I'm gonna work with it. I think it's strong enough to where, like, because again I stitched it twice, I think it'll be fine. And then I'm gonna do a flat felled seam, so I'm not super worried. All the stitching from here on out is gonna be on a different machine, so just throwing that out there. Hey y'all, so I'm set up here with my Janome. I'm gonna get my Burnett serviced. It's been 2 years since I've had it and I haven't serviced it yet. Please don't be like me, okay? Once a year, around Christmas or whatever, pick a time of year, every year, just do it. So anyway, this machine is fine. I moved it over here so that I have the whole quilting space. This table is from Arrow Sewing and I am an affiliate, but I actually bought this in 2018 on my own because I knew I would need it. I needed it for my new studio, and I'm obsessed. Also, I live in an apartment and it doubles as my dining room table. Listen, we do what we can, right? But anyway, so I've moved my machine over here so I can do all of this corded petticoat action. So I guess now that I'm all set up, there's really no reason to put it off. I think it's time for me to cord this petticoat. So we're gonna get that going. I'm gonna start with the thickest one, and honestly, we'll just move over to the other table and we'll talk about it real quick, and then we'll move back here and start sewing it. So this is my lining side, and then this is the top side. So this is the nice pretty linen. This is the, just like the tarp, or not tarp, the backdrop. This is my cording. Honestly, am I overthinking this? Should I just apologize. I am recovering from being sick. So I might be overthinking this. I think I'll take this spool over. I'll have this in here and I'll just maybe feed it as I sew. I overthought all of that. So instead, I'm literally just going to like figure out how much I need, cut it, cut it. Now I'm gonna cut this. I don't know, it's the length I want. And then I'm just gonna take this in here, in between the layers. Once again, I'm gonna make sure that my lining layer is always on top, because that's what's gonna end up shrinking when we go to sew it. And you'll understand what I mean by shrinking if you have seen my corset video on doing a corded corset. I did an 1850s corded corset. That's a lot to say. I show like doing it and how it shrinks it a little. So if you've seen that, you know. But if you don't know, that's okay. You're here right now, you're gonna see it. So I'm just gonna like put this cording in here on this seam, and I'm gonna know, just because I know, and I mean, I know you might not know, but when you do it at home, you'll know. And I'm gonna just kind of pin right here, and I know that this seam is always my start and stop. It's always where I'm gonna start my cord, it's always where I'm gonna finish my cord. So I'm gonna get it right nice close in here, as close. And I don't need a ton of pins for this. I really am only gonna need 1 or 2 just to start out, and then I'm kind of gonna let my machine and myself to do the rest of the work, and my hands and all that jazz. you know? All right, let's move over to the machine and talk about that. I don't know why I made a big deal about this. All I'm doing different on my machine is I'm using my zipper foot. And then I think the other thing is it's at a 2.4 millimeter stitch length. I might actually up it to a 3 millimeter stitch length just because of how much stuff I have to go through, but I'm gonna start at 2.4, see how that's sewing, and then go from there. I also realized that my needle needs to be readjusted to this side, so we're gonna do that, and then we will just sew. So I'll just start sewing cording, I guess. Tell you what I do after I got some cord in there. I have some thoughts. That clock says 10 minutes and 8 seconds that I have been sewing. I really did not love the whole this thing. That doesn't feel good. That's not my favorite action. So I think what we're gonna do, I'm gonna try timing myself pinning and sewing the next one, and we'll see which one was faster. And whichever one was faster and felt better is the one we're gonna do. So stay tuned for that. I'll do time lapses because I'm gonna film it all, so I have the actual like number of minutes and stuff, but I'll turn them into time lapses and then tell you what the time was at the end. How does that sound? Because that was miserable. I don't know if you saw, but I felt miserable. Cool. I'm gonna get up, go over there, do the next one, pin it in, bring it here, sew it. Yes, I'll have to pull out the pins as I go. Experiment time. Minutes. Okay, so pinning it took 2 whole minutes longer, but it was a more enjoyable sewing experience, and I do think it looks a little bit nicer than the first one. So I'm just gonna continue to pin it, and I'm gonna accept the fact that like it's not faster, but it is, I like it better. Like it makes the actual sewing of it better. And I think that's gonna become very important once I get a lot of the cording on here and it starts to get heavy. Like making it easier to go through the machine kind of feels worth it to me to add the extra minute or two, because I think that it's just gonna make it a better overall experience. So in this case, pinning does take longer, but you know what? Who cares? I also am not doing this whole motion over and over again where it was starting to hurt my shoulder and I was like, I don't think I like this. Anyway, I'm gonna just get to it. I'll check in when I get all 4 of these bottom big ones attached and we'll talk about the next step. Okay, so I just marked 4 inches from this top here, and now I'm going to start using this smaller cording. This one is the size 00, and I'm gonna basically do 8 rows of this. So I'll do 1, and then I'll do another, and I'll do 8. At this point, because it's all so repetitive, I'm not gonna really film as much more. It just, you saw me do these. I'm gonna still use the zipper foot. Basically the same process is happening. I just have this yarn, this cording instead. So I'm gonna just get to town and I'm gonna lock in and do this. And unless I come up, like unless something crazy happens or I think of something important to share about this process, I'm just gonna lock in and do all of it until all the cording is done. So talk to you then. All right, good morning friends. It's another day and I am working on this petticoat. So the plan for today is to get this petticoat done, and basically what I'm gonna do is I have my little diagram that I've mapped out. I have actually broken down how much time I think each one is gonna take based off of how long this took, so that I can kind of check in throughout the day and be on track. I've got a lovely, absolutely stunning ambiance thing up on my computer. I'm gonna do about 2 hours of that. Basically this first section is gonna be just that, and then once I move on to the next one, I'll probably turn on some swoop or, you know, like some reading vlogs or something, just kind of lock in and just have noise in the background, but not really anything that I need to like pay close attention to, and get this done. This is taking longer than I expected, but I'm managing my expectations for the rest of the project, and we're gonna just figure it out. I'm gonna find time if that's what I have to do. If it means I work a couple hours late some nights after I work at the wig shop, that's part of reality. With that being said, there's nothing new to explain. So I'm gonna lock in, and then I'll check in with you all in 2, 4, 5, in about 7 hours. So once I get all of the rows and everything sewn, I'll show you what the next 2 steps are, and then we'll finish up this petticoat. Cheers, and let's do it. The dangers of pins in big shirts is that sometimes your shirt gets stuck on a pin. We're good now. All right, so it is like 4:50. I started at 9:30 this morning, and all of the lovely cording is done. I also cut out my waistband, and then these are going to be left over for a placket because I did something wrong. I'll explain that in a minute. But before I do that, this is the lining layer and this is the top layer. So this needs to get folded under and sewn. Obviously I've pressed and folded it. Now I'm just going to sew it. That way this is a clean edge. Yes, you will see it on this side. I'm not super worried about it. It's whatever, but it's really just because this is the side that shrunk, and that's about how much it shrank. Ooh, I have a ruler right here. So it shrank like almost 4 inches, which is kind of crazy. But anyway, so now you know that's what that is. And I'm gonna sew this and then cut down one of these sides. I'll just explain what I did wrong now. This side is a good example. So I didn't pay attention to these seams lining up. And because I didn't pay attention to the seams lining up, I can't just like open one seam and have that be like the side seam. So I have to basically cut down, which means that I would have to then fold over the edges, and then there would be a gap. So instead of doing all of that, we're just gonna add a placket. So essentially, if you haven't seen what a placket is, I'll just show you what it'll look like when it's done. I'm not actually adding like loops or anything, or like snaps or hoops or like any kind of closure to the placket. I'm just kind of using it as like the flap to cover up the gap. I do a lot of plackets and waistbands on this channel, so I'm not really gonna show all of those steps. I will just show you what it looks like when it's done, because at this point, like, I really wanna get this done in the next hour to hour and a half. I'm gonna sew this down, and then I will add the waistband, the placket and the waistband, and we'll get this all done, and it'll be wearable. Okay, so I got so I don't actually have to do a placket, which is great because those take so much time. I figured out a way to actually undo the seam that was at the selvage, and then I cut into the lining part of that and folded the selvage over it and stitched over that, and I think it looks fine, and it still meets up exactly the way I want to. I also put together the waistband, and then I did my 2 rows of gather stitches on the top of this. So basically all that's left to do is attach the waistband to this and use the gather stitches to gather everything to fit within the waistband. So I'm gonna do that, and then there are like 5 million thread tails to cut. But yeah, so I just have to do the waistband. I'm gonna wait to do a closure until I find my stays, and then I'll do a fitting with the stays and this. So I'm not gonna add any dress hooks just yet, but I'll probably just put it on over this and like with a safety pin or something and just see what it looks like. So yeah, I'm almost done. I think maybe like 30-45 minutes. So that's where we're at. Okay, so I am moving on to the skirt. The skirt is going to be just math. I'm basically gonna cut 2 pieces
of my fabric at the full width, but the length is gonna be from my belly button to like my ankle plus some for hemming and stuff. That is gonna be my pattern, and then I'll just do a waistband like I normally do. I was intending on digitizing the embroidery for this. I wasn't able to find any good images of the embroidery from the actual dress. I found the sketch, that's the one that I've been using for everything, and I've also found somebody that recreated the dress that doesn't use an embroidery machine, but what they seem to use is like applique from a lace fabric, and that's what I'm gonna do for this because I'm on a time crunch and I don't want to spend a ton of time just like making up embroidery for it and then miss all that time and kind of not really meet my deadline, and then also still not have the right embroidery. So we're gonna skip the embroidery altogether, and I have this lace and I'm gonna cut out some of these lace pieces in this fabric and line them up, and those are gonna do. It's not gonna be like the best, or it's obviously clearly not historically accurate, but I think it's gonna look good, and I'm not trying to go for stage accurate or historically accurate at all. I'm just trying to look adequate as this character. I want it to be recognizable in the dress. So that's the decision I am making. The first thing I gotta do is cut this fabric, and then I can start cutting out applique and placing it on the skirt front. So yeah, let's do it. All right, so something I really wanna mention before I start like moving on, I've already cut this fabric. This fabric has a nice, beautiful texture to it, but the texture goes from width to width. The measurement was 43 inches. I was supposed to cut 2 panels width to width at 43 inches. If I were to have cut this from salvage and salvage, this is obviously not the salvage, this is my 43rd inch. That means that my texture would be going the opposite direction that I want it to go in. I want my texture to actually go up and down on this dress, which means everything I'm doing is actually gonna be going against the grain. So I know that's not always the best. I'm gonna try to be as like precise as possible when I go against the grain. You'll see once I start cutting bodice pieces out, but essentially for me, everything I'm gonna be cutting out and doing is gonna have this texture going up and down. Now that my pieces are cut out, I have 2 pieces cut out. This is the wrong side. You can kind of see how shiny it is. Very shiny, but this is the right side. We'll be using this. And so basically I am going to fold this front piece in half and pin it down it so that I have a center line, and that center line is going to be where I place applique, which is sitting there. I gotta cut that next. We're gonna have some real talk while I cut some of these out. Yes, I said cut. I no longer want to use the hot knife to cut these because 2 reasons. One, it was like burning the edges, which it's supposed to do, but because it's got like, this is pure plastic, it's leaving a residue, and then the residue is like all brown and black, and so I could do like an outer one, which if I'm gonna just go way around the edge, I might as well just use scissors and do this anyway. But also I realized, okay, yeah, I have a respirator, but I have Eva right here. So like, she is breathing in toxic fumes. So I was like, okay, obviously the one that I cut out isn't gonna like mess her up, but like, I'm just annoyed, and I was like, oh wow, that was stupid. I haven't cut any of this or done this since I moved into this house or in this apartment. So like, normally when I do those things, I open a window and close the door and she's not allowed in. And so I was like, oh wow, stupid case. You almost just put your dog into risk. If you have pets and you are doing anything that would affect your lungs, it affects their lungs too. Keep that in mind. I know I talked about this in my Glinda video when I was making the crown, and I didn't let Eva outside with me while I was doing that, because while I have my lungs protected, and yes, it is a ventilated place, she is likely gonna lay on the floor near me, which means her lungs will not be, her lungs will breathe in all the toxins, and I don't want that. So I didn't allow her outside with me when I had things going. I allowed her outside when I set up and when I took things down, so she got to be a part of the party. But like, as soon as I started doing all the soldering, I was like, get out of here, girl. You gotta go inside. I'm sorry. Your lungs are too important to me. So anyway, a little note, if you have animals and you are doing something toxic for you, maybe also don't do it around them. All done now. I'm gonna just cut this out by hand. with my duckbill scissors, and then once I get these all cut out, I will take you over to this table where I'm placing them, and I will place them on the skirt, and then we'll sew them down. All right, this is the cozy sewing part of a project. I have my laptop here. I'm gonna turn on, currently watching Dexter. I'm on season 3. I'm almost done with season 3. I'm gonna watch some Dexter. I've got my piece that has all my pins and everything in it. And then I also have a thimble. I need to grab actually a needle. It's over there. And then some thread and scissors and my pin box to put my pins in. This is so possible to do with a free motion foot on your sewing machine. The only thing is your stitches are gonna stitch like a stitch line, so you're kind of gonna see them, and I don't want to see them on this. You can also use an adhesive, like any kind of two-way adhesive. I want to say like a heat and bond or something if you wanted to, but I prefer hand stitching these down. I just think it looks better, and that's kind of just how it is. So I'm gonna hand stitch this down, and I'll get a little bit of footage of that so you can kind of see how I do it. But for the most part, this will take me 4 or 5 hours, I'm sure, so that's why I've got TV that I queue up. I get cuddly. My dog will come over. Eva will sit over here at some point, and we just kind of sew. Like, that was it. It was just cozy and fun. And I have a blanket because that's the best way to do all this. So yeah. So I have it all done. It's all sewn up. This took me about 5 hours to do, so that was, you know, a little tedious, but not the worst at all. And I'll just show you the back so you can kind of get an idea of like how small the stitches are on the back. They're not, I want to say they're about 1/2 inch. That's what I was trying to go for. I typically go for 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch stitch length. And then obviously on the front here, you can see, if I get you really close, I tried my best at making them as invisible as possible. But anyway, so this is our front. I'm gonna sew this to the back panel, and actually what I have to do so that I can add a closure is cut the back panel in half, and then I need to seam it together and leave a gap. I'm gonna do it about 8 inches, and then I can sew that to this. I'm gonna do all French seams. You can do flat felt seams, you can do French seams, or you can just serge the edges and sew them up. I prefer to do French seams for this, and I will be doing my French seams at like 1/4 inch and then flipping it, and I don't know, like 3/8 inch. So yeah. All right, I have the whole skirt done. Well, you know what I mean, like panels sewn together. I'm just gonna set this aside for now and pull out. I've printed all the pages. So let's put together this puzzle and start cutting out the mock-up fabric and stuff like that. Okay, I'm already over this fitting, but like I'm gonna talk to you for a second. I can't close this back, so like you're just gonna have to like really use your imagination here. But essentially this pattern comes with like another band that'll go here. So that will be the like satiny, like shiny looking band that's on her outfit. Y'all, I'm just gonna really have to start doing my mock-ups with the plan of having somebody here to help me with the fitting, because like I clearly can't get into things by myself. So anyway, this is where we're at. The sleeve. Okay, so this band that's on the sleeve, that's this, you know,
the piece that's tightening it looking. That's gonna get moved up, I think. It doesn't need to be that low. I think it can go a whole inch or two up. The sleeve holes have to get bigger. They just hurt. Like I can feel them digging in, and I don't even have the back closed. Like if I don't even have the back closed, how is it gonna feel when the back like actually close up? You know what I mean? I'm trying to get as high up with one arm as I possibly can, like that contortionist here. Overall though, I like it. This is the fitted lining, and yes, the dart is inside out. This is the fitted lining. So this is actually gonna get cut and done normal, and then what I'm gonna do is use this exact pattern, and I'm gonna slash and spread it to be much wider and larger, and then I'm gonna gather that piece down to fit onto this. That gather is gonna create the ruffle up here, and then I'm actually gonna use, if you saw, when this right here, this is like the Bertha for this piece, and I'm just gonna modify this to act. So if you can see, there's like a center front here. I obviously will not want that in mine. There's that whole band that will go around here that has the beading on it. So I'm gonna modify this. I'm gonna basically pull a pattern from this to go right around this beautiful neck bit. So basically the top layer will get all gathered, and that will create that ruffle up here, and it will get connected to the lining. The lining will be the lining, and that will be what's fitted, and that's how everything has an anchor and a place to live. And then there will be that strip of the beading that will go here. So the next step, I don't need to take any of this apart. I'm just gonna kind of leave it as is. I'm gonna use the pattern, and I'm actually gonna modify the arm eye just enough to where it doesn't hurt me. I'm gonna modify that and then cut the lining. Once my lining is sewn up, I'm not gonna put boning or anything in it. I'm just gonna get it sewn, set it aside, and actually pull from this piece here the beaded pattern piece and get that put like drawn onto fabric and put on my loom, so I can work on that tomorrow night and the night after. And then if I get the loom all set up, the lining done, then I can move on to cutting the next layer of fabric, which will be our fashion layer. But I mean, like, she's cute. Oh, and I got my stays here. Let's just do this. These are gonna be the stays that, see how hard that is to take off? Anyway, these are my stays. These are my Regency stays. Yes, these are falling off the side on purpose, because if you see this image here, that is how she wears them in this scene with this outfit, because her shoulders are showing normally, and I have loosened these so I can do this fun thing, but normally these would be nice and tight, and they would, you know, help with hold the back like that, and I'll have this little like cute little boob shelf. I can't even say that seriously. Anyway, these are my Regency stays. These look perfectly fine for what we're doing. Again, they're gonna be worn like this. I'm actually gonna take a minute to also put my petticoat on, figure out what that waistband measurement is gonna be. All right, I have a lovely side closure. So all I'm gonna do right now is just take this, and I'm gonna get my heat soluble pen and mark right there where this meets, so that I know kind of where I wanna put my hook and eye. Whew, man, and then I think I'm gonna maybe safety pin this closed and take a couple photos, because y'all, I look real cute right now. Let's do. And look, that slit I made, it kind of gets covered when I actually have a closure. Oh my gosh, who is she? A Scandala. Okay, I'm gonna go take some photos, and then we'll get going on actually cutting our linen. And then, like I said, we'll do all those steps, and I'll talk you through them as we do them. All right, so these are the beads that I may or may not use. I do not know if they're gonna be white. No matter what, we're gonna be using some white beads. I'm gonna kind of play
on this. I know this doesn't look like something, but I know what it's supposed to look like, and I'll get going on this tomorrow, but we're rocking and rolling. All right, so I have my loom all set up on the couch with the TV, and I have this image that is kind of my reference. I'm gonna use kind of this up here, and then right here next to me I have all my beads and such. I got my hook, I got my thread. I'm just gonna go to town. I don't know if I'm gonna film this because I'm in a really uncomfortable place, but I really don't want to do this at the table. I'm more comfortable doing embroidery here. I'm also just really tired. We're getting close to the end. I have tonight, tomorrow night, and like basically 2 days, like a whole 12-hour day, and like we should really only do a 6-hour day so I can video and photograph it at night. So that's where we're at. So we're just gonna get going on this, and I am gonna start doing some embroidery, I think. I don't know. I'm gonna wing it. So I'll figure out how to get a camera like on this here, and we'll do that. Some of you might notice the tension on my fabric is really loose, and while I was trying to make it work, I ended up switching from tambour embroidery to basic hand beadwork once I chose the twisted bugle beads to be the main bead in this design. I'm not gonna lie, I felt like I had wasted so much time at this point, and later in this night, I ended up having a minor meltdown because I had myself convinced I just didn't have enough hours left in the week to get this done. All right, so today and tomorrow are the last 2 days I have to actually work on this costume. So I'll show you first. This is the beading that I have done. It's not the final design of beading, but it is as close as I can get for now until I've assessed how much time I actually have to finish the beading. So what I'm gonna do right now is actually sew together all of my lining layers, press the seams, and get everything ready for boning. There's only a couple boning channels that I'll be putting in this, but I wanna get that all prepped and ready to go. Then once the lining is kind of put together, I'm gonna just set it aside and use these exact pattern pieces to slash and spread. And that slash and spread is gonna be what makes up the actual gathered top, like the fabric, fashion fabric part of the bodice. So we're gonna do those first, and then I can move on to sleeves, and then from sleeves, I can move on to adding the skirts, hemming, and all that stuff. My goal for today is to get all the way to the hemming part. I think I have about a solid 10 hours of like energy within me with like a 1-hour break for food. So it's noon right now. I've spent most of the morning finishing the embroidery, and essentially what I'm gonna do is kind of try to work for the next 3 hours, take a break to eat, and then once I've eaten, I will come back and do another like 6 or 7 hours of work, and that should take me until around 10 or 11 tonight, and then tomorrow I'll wake up and do the hem and make the veil. The end is near. I can see the finish line. I just have to lock in and do it. I have a lot of YouTube videos lined up behind me, so I can just listen to some reading vlogs, some artist vlogs, and then I also have one true crime series to listen to that's about 6 hours long. And I think with all of those artist vlogs and the true crime podcast, all of that should equal the amount of sewing I'm gonna do today. And I think we're ready. I think I can do this. I think now I just have to actually do it. So here we go. Let's finish this costume today and tomorrow. Okay, so here is my like rolled hem. It looks good, it's fine, it's good enough. I realized that these seams right here hang out over the top of this bodice and they're raw, so I might need to see if I have any fray check to just put over that so that they don't fray like crazy. But anyway, I have it pinned in areas where like it's helpful for me, and I have a basting stitch, and then I also have a basting stitch down here at the bottom, and I have all the seams like lined up. So now my next step is going to be to start actually pulling and gathering these up here so that I can pin it and get it to look kind of like the way that hers looks in the movie. And then same at this is the back piece. And then once the top is done, I'm going to baste that down to the lining just up here. I will not baste anything else, because once that is attached up there, then I can come down here and line up, like add the waist, the little like this piece right here. This is that band, and in the movie photo, she has this really shiny, what looks like some kind of sash or something around her waist. So that's what this is gonna be. So if you notice that this is that nice pretty texture, this is very matte, and then this is shiny, that's kind of what I'm trying to play with here, is that nice little difference. And then this one will end up being sewn and pinned so that the bottom of this edge lines up with the bottom of this edge, and this will be folded up where our skirt gets put in there. So if you can see in here, that is like the inside of this piece. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. So I'm gonna go take Eva out and take about 10 minutes to just kind of breathe, and then I'm gonna come back and get these sewn. So look at her being all patient. Eva, do you wanna go potty? You wanna go potty? Yeah? She doesn't care. She's just like, whatever, mom. Alright, so I have pinned the kind of applique onto the sleeves, on this sleeve as well. They're mirrored, and then something to note is this is that like strip, and I still need to do more beading on this. So I know that one set of these takes me an hour each, and I know that there's at least an hour of hand sewing beads onto this, and it is 6:30. So I think for me, I'm gonna spend the rest of the night hand sewing. So I'm gonna start with the beads on this and get all of the beads placed on these, and then I'm gonna actually take and fold this top edge over and machine stitch it onto the bodice. And then once this is machine stitched onto the bodice, I'll fold under the bottom edge and hand stitch it down because I don't want any top stitching. So like kind of like bias tape, where like, you know, right sides together, like I'll stitch all the way this around like the actual like area, fold it, press it, and then I'll fold this edge under, press it, and then I'll hand stitch it down so you can't see the stitching. So that's my plan. And then once I get this piece done, I know it's just an hour to do that and an hour to do that, and that's probably where I will end for the night. I'm not as far as I was hoping to get. That basically means that once these are all this hand sewing is done, I have to finish the sleeves. I did put together the cuff and then the band, so that means I'll pleat, put the band on, sew them, put the cuff on, sew it up, get it onto the bodice. I'll have to add closures, I'll have to add the skirt, I'll have to hem the skirt, and then I can do the veil. Oh, I also have to make bows and put bows on the sleeves, and then I can do the veil. So we're working. We'll see. It might be a 5 or 6 o'clock shoot. I was hoping, you know, I'd have a good solid hour or two in between finishing and photographing, but that might not be the case, so we'll see. So the entire like flat sleeve is here. I like to get all of the design elements added before I actually sew it up. I even put in the little gather stitch down here. So now what we're gonna do is I'm gonna sew this sleeve right sides together, matching here, and then I can add the cuff and get this sewn up and then attached to the bodice. I think I'm making okay time. I don't really know, but I'm just gonna keep forward as a pace and try to get to a good spot. So yeah, let's do it. Here is the closure. I've never used these before, so hopefully it's not the worst. I'm gonna have to go back in and hand sew these back down. Like, I only did 1/2, but I just need to get photos in it tonight, and before I wear it to a con, I can hand sew this in. I still have to do the hem, so you can see here I have a raw edge, or well, salvage. But I'm gonna move on to the, I almost called it a crown, to the veil. So I will do that, and then hopefully after I've whipped together a veil, I can at least hem this and start taking photos. Okay, so I don't have a headband, so I just took a piece of like Ridgeline boning and 2 pieces of horsehair braid and kind of zigzagged them all together to make this. And then I'll use pins to basically pin into the horsehair braid, kind of like how I did my Glinda, what's her name? The crown for my Glinda's bubble dress, where I used the horsehair braid to pin it in. And I know that she has like this like double, so I think I'm gonna try to do this again and like basically, let me actually get on camera real quick. Okay, so what it looks like is that like her head, she has like a piece here that has like flowers and stuff, and then it looks like there's a second one like right back here, and that's where the veil is attached and more flowers. So I think I'm gonna basically recreate this and then have them attach at like the bottom, like cross over, and I'll zigzag them like to attach at the bottom, and then they'll go on like this, and then basically I'll just put a bunch of like bobby pins in. And because I'm using white Ridgeline, you'll see the white, but I'm actually gonna cover both layers of it with the flowers. So what I'm gonna do next is recreate this, and then I have the veil. I did a rolled hem on this, but I didn't do a good job because I was rushing, and I even knew like I need to slow down, and then I would watch it bunch up and whatever, it's fine. But what I did for the top is I just kind of like did a rolled, not like a double hem up at the top, and then I put a gathering stitch, so this whole piece will get gathered down and kind of sit at the back, on the back one of these. So let me make the second one, and then I'll show you actually like pinning this onto the 2 that are together. Thank you all so much for watching this year's Halloween costume build, and a special thank you to Fabric Wholesale Direct for supplying the fabric for this costume and making this possible. Until next time, stay spooky, friends!